Hey, what's going on? It's kind of cold. Winter is coming, so I'm wearing a hat. So today I want to talk about writing music if you have never delved into the world of music theory, which, trust me, you don't need to know music theory to write a song. I think there's a million examples of that being true. At the same time, I'm constantly telling you about my course, Guitar Super System, linked in the description, and it's covering theory if you've never learned theory before, but I just want to stress that you don't need that. You don't need to know theory in order to write music or even be an amazing guitar player, technically, melodically, whatever your goals are. You don't need music theory to do that. So I'm going to do my best to approach this lesson as if I've never learned any music theory, but I'm also going to convey some of the technique that I know, because that doesn't have to do with music theory. That's just straight up rote practice. And I want you to know that out of all the topics that I'll ever cover, songwriting is by far the most subjective. So bear that in mind as we move along. The first step to writing music is picking a chord progression, and you can start with a melody or lyrics as well, but as a guitar player and having a lot of guitar player friends, I've asked this question to pretty much everybody who plays music, and I say, how do you start writing music? Primarily, the answer is, well, it depends, but usually it's starting with chords. So whether those chords are just bar chords or open chords, whatever, the normal chords you would learn, or if it's some really cool sounding chord that you figured out, whatever it is, you can start with a chord progression and begin writing music almost immediately. I've never been a great lyric writer. I've never been a great melody writer without some chords behind it. So we're going to start with a chord progression, and you can find chords in two different ways. The first way is to simply copy either exactly or close to the same of one of your favorite songs. Harmony is not able to be copywritten. You can't copyright harmony or chord progression, because as you know, there's a million songs with this chord progression. So pick a chord progression that you're familiar with, or find chords that work well together. Again, we're ignoring music theory, so I'm not going to tell you how to construct a chord progression in that way. Just use your ear. That is going to be your biggest tool, your biggest asset. Find chords that you know, and then find ones that will happen in succession and work. So say we take something like this. That's okay. How about something like this? That doesn't sound very good. So you can hear what you like and what you don't like. So that's step one. Create a chord progression based on influences or on your own ear. And we're not getting into rhythm yet. Simply choose chords. So here are the chords that I'm going to use in this lesson. I'm going to have a C, E7, F, G, and then I'm going to go C, E7, A minor, C. And then maybe I'll get to a bridge if I feel like it or if we have time. But those are the chords that I'm starting with. So now that I have my chords, we move on to the second piece of information I have, which is differentiating these chords. So you don't necessarily have to do this. You can just play the chords that you know. But if you want to go a step further, if you want to experiment, then try changing one or two notes, whether that means adding or subtracting or replacing, swapping out notes in these chords. So what I mean by that is, instead of playing this C chord, find maybe another note that you can add to this to add some different color to it. So experimenting, how about this? So that changed it in a way that I didn't like. So I'm gonna throw that away, try again. It sounds okay too, but again, not what I'm looking for. I like that because that kind of adds a little bit more life to the chord. So now, move on to this E7. That's cool, but I like that sound because I'm still kind of getting that register, but I'm not really having to do anything. I'm just playing more notes. And now we're moving to our F. So I think I'm gonna just keep with what I was doing there, adding this top E string. And then, so this transformed. We had the original. Now we have. So I like that. I like that a lot. Now let's take the second half. I kind of like keeping that closed. We don't have to amend all the chords if you don't want to. And then back to the C. Now that was the initial thing that I started with that I didn't like, but I like it on that turnaround because it kind of sets up that sound. So I'm moving fast here, guys. I'm not expecting you to follow these chords, all the changes that I'm making. Really, I think it's important to just get the points and use it in your own songwriting, and watch how this process unfolds if you like. So now that we have our chord progression and we have kind of little spicy nuances for these chords, next we're going to address the part of the song that makes it memorable. So a lot of guitar parts in particular have motifs, even rhythm guitar parts that really make them memorable. So a lot of my favorite songs, at least, I'm speaking for myself here, but I'm going to attempt to make some kind of memorable thing happen throughout this chord progression. Maybe it's at the end, some kind of tag, if you will. If you've ever heard that term, it's like something that indicates, yeah, this is the part that you're supposed to remember. An example of that might be for Leonard Skinner's song. Those are pretty basic chords, but then it does that. So I consider that a kind of a tag riff. So I'm gonna try and emulate that type of thing in my chord progression. So what you do in order to make that happen, it can either be an embellishment on the chords that you're already playing, or it can be a single note melody line that fits into the chord that you're playing, but usually it'll happen at the end of a chord progression, whether that's the 4th chord out of 8 chords or the 8th chord out of 8 chords, something that happens at the end and brings you back to the beginning. So for example, we have our chord progression here. Now my pinky is kind of wanting to go here, kind of just like that C chord. So maybe I can make a little melody out of this. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. So now that we have a chord progression consisting of interesting chords and a motif, the final thing to kind of tie everything together is the rhythm. You don't necessarily have to just strum on the beat every single chord. There's more lessons that would aid this lesson as far as technique goes. You know, finger picking, odd time signature, or syncopation type things. So just understand that there's a lot going into this. I'm not just making it up on the fly, but the hard part's already over. You've already constructed the tune. It's just a matter of delivering it now. So here's something I might do with what we've come up with so far. So that's pretty much how I would write a song if I wasn't thinking about music theory. I would find a chord progression, I would try and make those chords sound interesting using my ear, and then I would try and come up with a cool rhythm using whatever technique that I was good with and try and establish a feeling. That's really what great songwriting is about, in my opinion, is establishing a feeling in your listener and making what's in your head come out on the fretboard. So music theory is a way to facilitate that, but it's not the only way. So I'm going to see what I can do with this little chord progression. One more thing I'll mention is that you can add like a bridge to this using the exact same philosophy that we just went over. Really, the bridge is a place where you can vary the rhythm even more and maybe the mood a little bit, kind of change it. There are different kinds of bridges. I think there are bridges in a context like this that don't necessarily have to be far away from our original tonality. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to do theory, but the original sound of this, sometimes bridges turn to a very different place. So you don't necessarily have to do that, but I think you'll see here at the end of the video when I deliver this song to you, bridges don't have to depart from the song entirely if you don't want them to, but a solid rhythm change is pretty much all you need. I hope this stuff made sense to you guys. I know it was kind of a rambling kind of lesson, but it's something that I've been thinking a lot about. I've been reading your comments, and some people seem to be into the theory stuff and some people maybe aren't, so I wanted to address those of you who maybe aren't considering theory but still like to watch these videos. So thanks a lot. Really, I appreciate your feedback on everything that I do, and I hope I'm helpful to you every time. I'm trying my best, and I'll see you guys next time.